once we start, we don't want to stop. So, yeah. So as I promised, I'm going to tell you just a little bit more about our speaker. There's a whole lot I could tell you about him, but in the interest of time and letting him speak, I will try to keep it somewhat brief. Reverend Richard Rogers is a gifted and inspired teacher, coach, and minister. Over the last 25 years, he has been spiritual teacher and leader to thousands of people. He had a 14-year ministry in Unity of Phoenix, and it turned out to be one of the greatest churches in the Unity movement. And he is a man of profound experience of God. He is powerful, dynamic, humorous, and yet he gets right to the soul of his audience. He's written 3 books: Principles of Prosperity, Life Beyond Limits, and Healing of the Soul. His books and teachings combine the wisdom and language of a spiritual messenger who will lift you up and challenge you to live your own greatness. Please help me give a warm Unity welcome to Reverend Richard Rogers.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh my gosh, do I love to speak in this place. Is this a great ministry or what? This is one of my favorite places to speak. How's everybody up in the balcony? Be careful up there. So thank you very much for having me here. I love this place. You know, one of the things I love most about your ministry is its high commitment to excellence. That everything this ministry does is done in such a great way. So it's such a joy to be here. And today I get to talk to you about creating. How many of you are enjoying what you're creating with your life? All right. And then we got one kind of, you're debating whether you're liking it or not, right? All right. And so we get to talk about creation. Because creation really is one of the greatest gifts that God's given us. God has given us the ability to create. And then we get to decide, because we have free will, what we create. And sometimes it's a little amazing to me when I look at my life and said, I really created this? Have you ever said that to yourself? Like, really? I thought this was a good idea at some point, huh? So I created this. And so today what we're going to talk about is the creation process. Because the way that God gave us to create is multidimensional. God gave us so many ways to create. It wasn't just one. God gave us in every possible way the ability to create and to create our lives. So I want to share those with you, and then I want us to take a next step and to really look at what we're creating. So the first one I want to talk about is that we create through our spirit. Like that our spirit is an incredible creative force. That just by showing up into this room, into this place, and wherever you are, your spirit, because your energy, is creating a reality. Scripture says in Matthew 9:21, the Father has made you well, right? Your faith has made you well. And have you ever read the book from Anita Moorjani, Dying to Be Me? Anybody read that? Everybody heard her speak? She's fabulous. She's fabulous. So she writes about dying and being on the other side. And after she died, she had this conversation with her father. She was born and raised a Hindu, and in the Hindu tradition that she came from, the father arranged the marriage for his daughters. And being a more progressive woman, she decided that she was going to get married for love. And so even though her father had arranged a marriage for her, she passed on it. And it was a place of emotional concern for her. And so when she died, the first person she saw on the other side was her father. And they had this incredible conversation where they could talk about it, and he apologized, and he told her how much he loved her and respected her, and what a great job she did with her life. And he just gave her all the love and acknowledgement that sometimes wasn't coming when she was in this earthly form. And she could just share with him how much his love and appreciation meant to her. And then he said, but you have to go back. And she said, there's nothing to go back to. He said, but you have to go back. And she said, I weighed less than 90 pounds. I had tumors throughout my entire body. And he said, but you have to go back. And she said, my body was disintegrating. There was nothing to go back to. And he said, it'll work, but you have to go back. And in that moment, he pushed her. And she said it was like a spiritual shove. And the next thing I knew, I was waking up in my body, a body that was in constant pain. And she said within 3 days, there was no more pain. She said within 2 weeks, I was able to walk out of the hospital room. And within a couple months, she was completely healed. Our spirit knows how to create. And our thoughts know how to create. How many of you ever heard Deepak Chopra say, thoughts are things? Right? And you know, for me, one of the most amazing things about unity is helping people move from negative thinking to positive thinking. How many of you were ever raised in a religion that tended to be a little on the negative side? Right? How many of you ever notice and catch yourself still being a little on the negative side? Right? And the most powerful thing I think about unity is helping people move from negative thinking to positive thinking, because it does make a difference that when you begin to pay attention to the thoughts that you think, it changes everything. Proverbs 23:7 says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And our words create. Matthew 17:20, you will say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will be done. You will say to the mountain, move from here to there, and it will be done. So what's the mountain in your life? What's the situation that feels so huge, so big, so overwhelming, and that your presence, your words can actually tell it to move from here to there? You will say to the mountain, move from here to there, and it will be done. Our intentions create. Matthew 18:19, if any two of you agree on earth about anything, it will be done unto you. You know, that's why one of the reasons why our unity friends are so important. The people that pray with us, our mastermind groups, are so important to us, because as we pray with another, we actually join together, double, tripling the amount of power that our intentions have to create our life. That every one of us on a regular basis needs to be sharing our deepest desires with those people around us that can hold our intentions, because when we link together the power of prayer, it magnifies the good in our life. If any one of us is trying to do this alone, that's really not the way the spiritual process works. We are in community for a reason, and the benefit of being in community is that we can share our desires, our hopes, and our dreams, and people can stand with us in our intentions for those and add their prayer support to moving our life forward. Today, is there an idea, a situation, a desire that you have in your heart that you haven't shared with anyone? That you haven't shared that intention with somebody that can hold it with you and believe with you. And our beliefs create. Mark 9:23 says, all things are possible for he who believes. And Mark 9:29, according to your faith it is done unto you. That our faith creates. Even when we have faith in the things that we don't want, our faith creates. So as we begin to believe more and more in the goodness of life, the goodness of God, the goodness of ourselves, we create a new reality. And our actions create. John 5:8 says, pick up your bed and walk. Luke 5:28, rise and walk. Lazarus saying, come out. That our actions support our desires. That's why tithing works. When we say God is our source and we put that action into place, that 1/10 of all that we receive, we give to where we're fed spiritually, it actually moves our life forward. That when we see over and over again all the levels and all the ways that God created so that we could be powerful creators. I am a powerful creator. Will you say that with me? I am a powerful creator. Come on, give me just a little bit more. One more time, ready? I am a powerful creator. One more time, you're getting better. But I want every cell and fiber of your body to really resonate with the truth that you are a powerful creator. Because we are what we decide to be. True? We are what we decide to be, that we were created in the image and likeness of God, but we express what we decide to be. Because we have free will, God can't get us to express any more than we are willing to express. God can't get us to be more than we are willing to be. I am a powerful creator. Together, I am a powerful creator. Now, isn't that fun? Isn't it so much more fun when you claim your power to be a master at creation? It's a master. Now my question for you is, then why do we continue to create the same old thing over and over and over again? Right? Has anybody ever had the same year more than once? Anybody ever lived the same decade over more than once? And it's like, okay, so if we're masters creators, why do we keep creating the same old thing, especially if it wasn't fun? Especially if it wasn't abundant, especially if it wasn't the life that you want to be living, why are we creating the same old things over and over again? And I'd like to suggest today it's because of our internal value. That if we don't change our internal value, seriously change our internal value, we can continue to create the same thing over and over and over again. Because that's what we believe we're worth. That's what we believe that we deserve. That's what we believe that we can have. Scripture says it's the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. But we have to believe that we're valuable enough to deserve it. Because God can't force it into our lives. We actually have to change our internal value. How many of you can think of a person in your life who really affirms your value? Can everybody think of at least one? Can everybody think of at least one person that maybe wasn't so helpful when it came to your value? Right? Now, the question becomes, which one did you believe? Which one did you believe? Because we have to decide. Can everybody think of maybe a rock star or a politician or an actor or an actress who has pretty much imploded their life? Right? Now, can everybody think of somebody, right, in the news? I mean, you don't have to go back very far, right? And you think, why would somebody who has everything do that? Because if they're smart enough to be that successful, you have to kind of assume that they were smart enough to know that if they did that, that might be a problem. True? Right? So why would they do that? See, what I want you to see over and over again, when our life gets bigger than we think we deserve, when we think we're valuable, we find very creative ways to implode it. And we don't have to look very far to see people taking actions to implode their life. How many of you have a friend or a family member who's incredibly talented, but they don't ever seem to live their full potential? Can everybody, and it may be you, right? Who never seems to live their full potential. There was a study done recently that showed the average person who wins the lottery 2 years later is actually broke or broker than they were when they won. Now, why is that? Right? Right? Is everybody on the planet dumb? Like, why would you do that? If you have millions, why would you lose it? And I'd like to suggest today, it's in our internal value. Like, you can have a huge windfall. You can become very successful. You can have these huge breakthroughs in your outer life. But if your inner value doesn't change, we will find ways to bring our life down to our side, down to the way we value ourselves. How many of you have ever struggled hitting a plateau in your life? Anybody? Even though you wanted to live a bigger life, even maybe you wanted the promotion or a greater relationship or whatever it was, hit a plateau and couldn't figure why you couldn't move to the next level. I'd like to suggest today it's value. That if we don't change our value, we can't experience all the good that our God has for us. That our internal value can absolutely be one of our greatest blessings or our biggest problem. And for many of us, we were raised in an environment that said it was bad form to value ourselves too much. True? I mean, can you hear people maybe in your childhood or maybe in the church that you grew up in saying, ooh, that person's really kind of full of themselves. And it's like, ooh, they really think they're all that. Like, we don't think that's good. We think that's just like bad form, right? That we should all be walking around with this low-grade sense of I'm not all that. Like, if God created us, should we really be walking around with a low sense of value? And you say, well, Richard, I've got great self-esteem. Great. But for many of us, self-esteem is thought of as an absolute. You either have it or you don't. When I use the term value, I want you to see that as a spectrum. That maybe your value was great for this level of life, but if you want to move to this level of life, you have to change your value. There's two studies I want to share with you. The first study is that I want you to see today that there was a study done on college freshmen. And what they did was they studied every freshman that entered the university. Because they wanted to find out what was the thing that determined success in their academics. So they gave them all this battery of tests, the whole entire freshman class, and they did this several years in a row. And what they found, without a doubt, that the most determining factor on success for a college student was their own value, their sense of self. That those students that had the highest level of self-value graduated at a much higher rate. Their grades were much better because they had the value that allowed them to succeed. There was another study that took a group of individuals and gave them a series of challenges, problems. Some of those challenges looked like they were impossible. And what they found were the individuals that had the highest level of internal value actually were the best at overcoming obstacles. Why? Because they didn't give up. People with low value give up before they get to the miracle, before they get to the blessing, before they watch their idea become. And you can all probably think of an idea that you've had, or a great idea, or a situation that you really wanted to move on, but your value over and over again said, well, oh, it probably won't work. Or somebody else could do it better than I could do it. That until we learn to change our internal value, we go from stuck to stuck. But as we change our value, it changes everything. How many of you heard about the couple from Texas that was off Key Largo, Florida, earlier this summer in June, and they fell off their boat? Did anybody hear about this couple from Texas that fell off their boat? They were in Key Largo, they were fishing, and something happened, and I couldn't really ever figure out as I read about it what happened, but both of them fell off the back of the boat. And his wife's going, that's why I never wanted to go fishing. Like, that was young. And neither one of them had life jackets on. They were fully dressed. It was a Friday night. That may be why. But they fell off the back of their boat. And just saying, right? So they fell off the back of their boat, and their boat continued to move on down the road. right? And they couldn't swim fast enough to catch up with their boat. And so they were stranded about 12 miles off, no, not 12 miles, 4 miles off the coast of Florida, off Key Largo. What they decided to do was to tread water. They didn't know if anyone was going to pick them up. They had to start treading water with the hope it would work. They treaded water 14 hours till mid-morning the next day, when 2 undercover detectives and 2 firemen were out fishing off Fort Lauderdale, saw them, thought it was debris in the water, decided to go over and investigate, and it turned out it was 2 people treading water for 14 hours. If your life depended on it, could you tread water for 14 hours? How many situations in your life have you given up on because your value wasn't high enough for you to keep on until you got to the blessing? They were in the water for 14 hours. When they pulled the woman out, she had no leg strength left, but she would not stop treading water. How many things in your life are not happening because your value isn't big enough for the life that God wants to give you? I want to invite you to change that. How many of you have ever sold a house? Anybody ever sold a house? Now, when you came to decide what you were going to list your house for, did you go to all your family members and gave them a vote on what you were going to list your house for? Did anybody go to all the neighbors and ask all the neighbors what you should list your house for? How about just random people in the mall? Right? Show them a picture of your house and say, so what would you list this for? Right? Most of us don't do that. Why? Because we think it's more prudent to talk to professionals and decide on ourselves what the value of our home is going to be. How many of you have let a whole lot of people decide your value? And those people may or may not have your best interest at heart. And today, what would happen if you took 100% responsibility for taking on your value and doing whatever it took to really expand your value so that life could bless you in a much greater way? I'm a person of great value. I'm an expression of God. Together? I'm a person of great value. I am an expression of God. Come on, I know you got more. I've already heard it. Come on, one more time. I'm a person of great value. I'm an expression of God. Too timid. One more time. I'm a person of great value. I'm an expression of God. Now, is that your dominant thought? Man, there's quiet in this room. Right? You can hear it. Oh no, that's not what I think about myself at all. Right? So what if that became your dominant thought? That your dominant thought was, I'm a person of great value, I'm an expression of God. And what if, as you continue to allow your value to increase, if the glory of God doesn't get to show up in your life in amazing ways that you've never known before? And what if you're working so hard? Has anybody ever worked so hard thinking that hard work was going to change their life? Right? But if you don't change your value, it doesn't matter how hard you work. I can show you person after person who's working really hard, but their value never expands so that they get to really be blessed from all that they're doing. Hard work is lovely. If it worked, it would be wonderful. But hard work without expanded value, you don't receive the blessing, all the blessings that God has for you. I am a person of great value. I am an expression of God. Together? I am a person of great value. I am an expression of God. Can you feel that? Now, what if that was your dominant thought? Can you imagine that the way people relate to you would be different than the way they're relating to you now? Can you imagine that the universe could relate to you differently than the way the universe is relating to you now. That you could actually stand wherever you are in this universe and claim that you're a person of great value, that you're an expression of God, and allow the entire universe to come to bless you. Today at 1:30, I'm doing a workshop. It's entitled Leveraging Up, Transforming Your Inner Value. And it's about key ideas and principles that allow us to change our internal value. I believe this is very important work. I believe actually that this is life-changing. Because I believe that until we get really good at changing and expanding our value, nothing really much changes in our lives. And that we can work really, really hard to see improvements, but until we change the thing that is the most important, we don't really experience the level of life that we desire. So at 1:30 today, I hope that you can be here. And I'm so committed to your value and to you expanding your value. Everyone who attends the workshop will receive a free coaching appointment with me. If you're here, I'm committed to you really getting the value that you want in your life about you. That you can really feel from the inside out that you are a person of great value. That you are a dynamic, beautiful, powerful, wonderful expression of God. And so it is. God bless you, and thank you for being here today.